Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Luminata. I'm Emery Michael. And happy spring.
Happy spring. Happy spring.
Nature is a living book, and the journey of the sun through the ecliptic and its annual journey is a picture in that book. And it dramatizes the evolution of the human soul from darkness to full illumination. And we sense at springtime in the colors of a butterfly's wing and in the beauty of a hummingbird that there is a world of perfect order behind nature's manifestations. So John Rasmussen, our favorite local shaman, is here tonight, and he's going to talk on the theme of finding the beauty in a world of imperfection. And John, as many of you know, is a renowned shaman trained by Alberto Villoldo and the Caro Indians in South America and Peru. So he is a carrier of that lineage and heritage. So we're always delighted to have John with us. Let's give him a warm welcome.
Thank you, Emery. Thank you, everybody, for coming. This is great. This reminds me of spring coming early. So, how many people have been here before, heard me speak? Quite a few, some new faces, okay. In my tradition with the Caro Indians, I'll give you a little bit of a background, you know. Shamanism is a very interesting thing. It's non-hierarchical, it's not institutionalized, there's no books that have been written. It's a wide open, very sort of umbrella system, if you will, that encompasses much of what we understand are healing modalities and spiritual traditions and philosophies and ways of living and mythologies and stories. It's a big combination of all of those things. And, you know, I've been fortunate to study a lot of that, and I've been really fortunate to have come across these Caro Indians from Peru, who, because of their isolation over the last 500 years, have been holding on to a kind of untouched set of worldviews and beliefs and techniques and things that they have now come out of isolation to share and reinitiate shamans from all over the world and all cultures and all traditions, kind of filling in whatever has been lost a little bit from the way the Western world has spread everywhere. And so that's, you know, when I show up, they really show up. And in fact, it's a big part of this tradition to acknowledge and call on and invite the shamans of not only my lineage, if you will, but all of yours and all of your, you know, ancestors that if you go back far enough, were very involved and engaged in these traditions, very familiar with them. So I'd like to start by opening sacred space, because we're going to do a journey tonight. We're going to be stepping in to the timeless worlds and doing some pretty powerful work, actually. And so we'd like to have this is already quite a wonderful space for all of that. It's a very, very clean and sacred space. And now we're going to call on my team, we're going to call on your teams of non-physical helpers, whoever that is for you. Everybody in different traditions has different versions of that. But as we'll be standing up, I'll face each of the directions, starting in the south, then the west, the north, and the east, and then the earth and the heavens, calling, clearing, and I'd like you in your own mind and your own hearts to be giving gratitude to who that is for you. And for shamans, it's very comprehensive. It's the stone people, it's the plant people, it's the animals, it's the non-physical beings and teams and things like that. So let's do that. Let's do that to start. We can all stand up, if you will, and face south. Still this direct. You are known by 1,000 names. You're the nameable one that dwells within us and all around us in all forms. Thank you for bringing us together to sing this song of life one more day. Dance this dance of co-creation to take it beyond where it's been before, new possibilities. Thank you for all those you've brought to us to help us, show us our potential. Oh. So part of the shaman's worldview, it's the way of beauty. Beauty is it, it's poetry, it's beauty, it's the beauty of nature, it's the diversity, it's the contrast, and it's the feelings, it's being in your body. And as this Western world that we're so used to, where our heads rule and the masculine sort of is in charge for the short time it has been, relatively speaking, we tend to spend an awful lot of time up here. And it's the talk tonight about the beauty of imperfection is really a kind of way of saying that this new time we're in, this new wave, this shift that everybody talks about, my teachers came out of isolation to share, is a return of the feminine way. The feminine where the masculine serves. So the heart leads and the mind follows. We've heard this before, follow your gut, follow your heart. So let's take a moment, even though I'm going to be using a bunch of words for a while before we do the journey, that'll be hitting your mind. Let's at least drop in a little bit to our hearts. So I'd like you to close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths. And smile without moving your lips. Think of the miracle of this time, of the seeds producing flowers. We made it through another winter. The days are getting longer and warmer. There are new possibilities. Okay. It's a nice place to be, isn't it? You can stay there quite a while. Quite a while. One of my yogic teachers from way back, this Swami Nichananda was his name. He said, the heart is the hub of the universe. Go there and roam. So I like that way of getting into the heart and into, therefore, the universe. So part of that, part of the way that is so normal to us and so we're so used to it, of this rational masculine way of being, has a lot to do with this concept of perfection. Are we doing the right thing? Did we look the right way? Did we dress right? Did we, follow all the rules? Are we doing the meditation right? Are we following the teachings right? I mean, it's not just at work. It's gotten to be even in our spiritual practices, this idea of perfection. And I think that perfection has everything to do with expectations, has everything to do with, well, you're at this point and you want to get to this point, that's your expectation, and if you get there, that's perfect, right? But if you get here, that's not perfect. You didn't do perfect. But if your expectation was to get here, it would be perfect. So perfection is simply, I think, a relative thing, number one, right? It's not something that there's somebody out there has written, this is perfect. This way of doing it, this way of thinking, this way of being. And nature is beautiful because it always surprises. You want the tree to grow that way, it grows this way, and oh, that looks wonderful. You know, everything grows outside of the lines. It's all very messy, it's all very imperfect. So it's okay in the world the way it is to do what's expected of you at work, and you know, we don't want everybody getting fired next week because they heard the shaman talk, and it's okay to count the numbers wrong if you're an accountant. No, you gotta, you know, you still gotta make it work in the masculine world. But when you get home and you're by yourself, or you're with your loved ones, you're behind closed doors, the trick then is to let it go. That's the shaman's way. The shaman's way is this path of freedom and power, which means freedom from even buying into your own hype, your own story, your own roles. You know, to be free enough to be a shapeshifter, to go to work and do everything the way you're supposed to, and then get home and let it hang out. You don't be loose about things. So that's I think that's one of the most important messages that I've been seeing lately with my work, is that we have a tendency to take ourselves a little too seriously, our roles a little too seriously. Take a moment, let's do it again. Let's close our eyes, because we're going to journey. When we journey, we're going to practice kind of shedding these things, these roles, these ideas of perfection. But I want you to just take a moment right now and think about in your life where you've been expected to be, or you've expected of yourself to do something perfectly. And how that made you feel. Was it stressful? Did it worry you? Did it make you anxious? Where does that bring you? Does it bring you out of your heart and into your head? Does it bring you into your stomach? Where does it bring you? And now, think of a mistake or two or three you made recently. Something where you didn't end up where you expected. You didn't produce the results you expected. Your foot didn't land where you expected it to, and you stubbed your toe or something, you know. Think of that. And think of the mistake you've made over and over. And every time you go, oh, I'm going to learn from this. I'm not going to do this again. And whose voice is that? Who told you that you have to learn from your mistakes so you never do it again? Did nature tell you that? Is that what nature does? Or is that what the boss man said? Your rational mind. Or your spiritual teacher. So anyone want to share how that made you feel? Did you get anything out of that? What did you get?
I actually made me laugh.
Seems a little silly, right, when you think
Yeah.
about it. How can I expect myself not to make
Well,
that
just seeing
mistake?
myself make a mistake, it's sort of a child almost. Like, oh, there she goes again.
Yeah, right?
I thought when people found it, to just say that nature, or nature say that I haven't thought that nature told me everything.
Right, right. And I've never heard nature say, you gotta learn from that, right? Because if you look around, it never does.
And it made me question my logic.
Right, good, beautiful. So that's the shaman's way. This is a path of power and freedom. It's not always a sweet and easy path. It can be a little disconcerting to the brain. It says, wait, I've studied all along that life is a school. I must grow and I must learn and I must, learn from my mistakes and get better and better. And it's like, shamanically, that's not part of our thing. It's non-hierarchical. It's not a school. It's okay to learn, and it's great, it's not a negative thing. It's expansion. Life is expansion. Nature is expansion just by its nature. Because things evolve and mistakes are made in the DNA and this and that, there's more new species. There's more diversity. If that didn't happen from day one, we'd have maybe one tree or maybe one single-celled organism. We're sitting here because of tons of mistakes, right?
I started getting angry because I remember that there's that story, you walk down the street and there's a pothole and you fall into it. Well, the next time you go around it, and the last time you go down a different street. And there's an expression I learned as a kid, not even a donkey stubs its foot or hits its foot on the same stone twice. Like, thanks, society. Thank you,
Yeah, right.
school.
I know, right? Yeah, the expectations have been pretty intense on us. I think that's my point, And it's about reclaiming our power as children in the garden. This really is about sort of like being so much easier on ourselves now that life becomes more pleasure than pain. Life becomes more nice experiences, easy experiences. We hold that space for our children. Our children can make as many mistakes, they can make the same mistake over and over. We're okay, we get it. But all of a sudden we can't do that. And we all heard the expression a number of times from every culture and every tradition, if you want to get back into heaven, you got to be like the child. If you want this to be as fun as it used to be, watch the children and learn, relearn, right? And that's the beauty. To shamans, beauty, the experience of beauty is not because you're witnessing something that we all agree is beautiful. Experience of beauty is how you perceive whatever it is you're looking at. And how you perceive that depends a lot on whether or not you think it's perfect or not, or right or not, or a mistake or not, right? So the whole point of the beauty of imperfection is to be so free and in your power and childlike without the restraints and restrictions of the expectations that have been put upon us and we put upon ourselves, that you could be looking at anything, any situation, and in any form and find beauty. Be surrounded by beauty. You see how that's a different way of approaching this almost entirely? Even from a lot of our most enlightened spiritual traditions and stuff. I listened to this wonderful talk by a young woman up in Berkeley the other night, and it was all about what was it she called it? The 2x4, the spiritual 2x4. how we can beat ourselves up with our own principles. And that's kind of what I'm talking about, right? Oh, I've been meditating, I'm enlightened. That shouldn't get to me like that. I shouldn't be this angry. Right? Oh, and then the more studied you are and the more practiced you are, the worse the bigger the 2x4 gets. Because that never stops happening. You know what I mean? The mistakes will never stop, even to the extent that you dialed it in almost foolproof, like a nuclear reactor in Japan. You know, that thing was designed to be completely no mistakes, right? Oh, except, God, what if there's a wave that's bigger than the wall and the generators get flooded? Oh. So mistakes will always happen, guaranteed, no matter how intense and meticulous. And that isn't, because that's nature. That's where we live. That's the deal. That's creation. So to the extent that you can allow that, and allow that to be in your own life, and allow that to be in your own thoughts and your own interactions and your own spiritual practices, you'll be walking in beauty.
So I think what you're saying, because, I guess it's my mind saying, well, like when you learn from your mistakes, you don't suffer. Like say the pothole example, you don't twist your ankle every time you walk down that street because, and like that's cool because, but it's not like because you have to or somebody's telling you, you just naturally,
Yeah.
that's different.
That's a good point, but
Yeah.
I think that is a kind of coping mechanism, right? That's like, it feels better for me to make some meaning out of this, or, you know what I mean? Like,
I'm just thinking to enjoy yourself, to
Right.
have a good time and not,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the shamans, the power and freedom we speak of as a shaman in this drama, in this theater that we love, this creation, this heaven on earth, whatever, you get angry, you stub your toe, you step on the thing, you do the wrong thing, you get sad, and you dive fully into it because no one's telling you anymore not to. Like it's inappropriate to cry for a week because your dog died or something. No, it's okay. You curl up, you cry for a week. It's a mess, and everybody has to just watch and let you do it, even if it's uncomfortable for them. And then you're over it. Then you're over it. Then the rest of your life, you've shed that. So the point is, you make a mistake, you get angry, you know what I mean? You fully process it instead of going to your mind and going, well, wait, I don't like the way that feels, so I'm going to immediately look for the lesson or make it put a positive spin on it, right? Yeah, I mean, I get it. That is a good way of transcending, but the shaman's journey is not transcend. You can transcend if you really need to, but then you got to come back and kind of be in there, include. Ken Wilber, transcend and include. It's a different view it's his view of Buddhism, So does that, you know what I mean? Like, is that kind of like, because then the contrast is full and deep, and it turns out that if you don't fully go into an emotion, now it sits in your luminous body, and it's sending a signal that's kind of asking for the same experience again. So you fall, you fall in the pothole again, whatever, and you go, oh no, why did it happen again? Got to figure out what's going on, what's my lesson, and then you've done it again. One, you haven't figured it out, and two, you've suppressed the actual experience, the negative, the painful experience. So shamanism's, it's different like that. I mean, it's not what you expect necessarily in terms of it's not a spiritual tradition. It's a very practical, pragmatic, on the earth tradition based on nature and how nature works, and that's what we observe. The teachings of shamanism come really from observation of nature, which we are eminently not separate from. We only were taught that in our myths because they told us we were kicked out of the garden. Now it's us against nature, it's us against the feminine, right? That's where the story went sideways, and now we're bringing it back. And this teaching is really about that, really trying to get us back to where it's like, no, there isn't a whole stack of teachings and all that on top of it. It is just what it is. And it's okay, and you don't have to stay in it, because that's suffering, right? Suffering is choosing to continue to rerun the painful experience instead of just experiencing it and letting it go. That's practicing non-suffering, as the Buddhists would teach. Not non-pain, not transcending pain, experiencing it fully, letting it go, and then therefore not suffering, which is a choice. So, any other questions about that, thoughts?
It's kind of like a fever. It's like you need to burn it out of you instead of taking the aspirin, suppressing it. You need to burn it. Run its course.
Yeah. Be in that pain, that heat. It's good, right? It's doing something. It's clearing. It's burning. It's healing. It's
And it's trusting the body that
Yeah.
it knows what it's doing.
yeah.
I had a picture of, I don't know, for some reason while we were talking about some of this, I had a picture of Villoldo. It's so interesting, we say, mistakes help us to grow, but it's not necessarily a lesson. It's like nature just does innovative things, so you're not gonna find the same pothole in the sense, something else is gonna collapse somewhere else. But the hardest thing for us to do, it seems, and we're always putting ourselves in the situation where we're trying to automate things and do things perfectly, and yet you see through the process of bowling or golfing or whatever, like doing the exact same thing the exact same way, putting that order is what, that mindset, first of all, because nature doesn't move that way, we view it as a mistake, and because we're not naturally set up to do something that way. And so if you put yourself in that paradigm, then what you see is, oh, I got a 9, I got a spare, I got an 8, I didn't do a perfect 10. You're just putting yourself in that kind of situation. It's antithetical to how nature moves.
Right. Jaguars don't play golf.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. But it's true. It's like if you slice and you laugh,
case, right?
like, oh my God, did you see that?
Right.
That's more, yeah.
Tigers do.
Tigers don't listen. Man. Didn't think you were listening back then. Anyway, yeah. See, but that's it. That's the whole point of we're just so, it's so normal to us. When you hear someone like me talk about it from this other angle, it's kind of, your brain's kind of going, but what? Sometimes, hopefully not. You know what I mean? But it's like, it's, well, what? How am I going to play golf tomorrow if I'm not worried about it? You got a point. But like I said, leave it on the golf course then, and don't come home and, transfer it into everything.
Can you explain suffering? Because what is one of the Buddhist truths?
Yeah.
What
So
is suffering?
So the shamans. So pain happens. That's part of the contrast of living here, right? You get pinched, you put your hand on a hot stove. I mean, you got to have pain to experience pleasure. There has to be contrast, but ideally it's pleasure, 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 pain, pleasure, 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 and not pain, 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 pain. Of course, we've been upside down. I know, the myth got turned around where it's thorns and thistles and it's the sweat of our brow. So our world, from the warrior masculine perspective, has been, it's all pain, 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 and we've got a way out to get you pleasure, but you got to, that's the whole big thing. Right, all of that, right, or practice.
But suffering isn't a body.
Suffering's a choice.
Grief and
Actually,
suffering.
so grief is pain.
Okay.
So somebody dies, you cry, or you leave somewhere, you cry. You're in the pain. You feel the pain. You process the pain, hopefully at a gut level and not rationally, because then it gets stuck. You want to process things in your belly and the heavy energy goes out your first chakra, just like your food, and it gets mulched, and you're over it. If you don't do that, then it gets stuck, and it sends a signal that tries to repeat the painful experience. That's kind of the whole shaman's way of looking at things. But I think it's very important to distinguish the difference between pain and suffering. So pain is, here's a hot stove, and I'm about to put my hand on it. Suffering is, oh God, oh God, oh God, this is gonna hurt so bad, oh my God. And I haven't done anything yet, right? I'm practicing suffering. I'm suffering like the pain that's about to happen. Then, okay, pain, ouch, and I can cry and scream and yell. And then a week later, oh my God, I can't believe I put my hand on that stove. It hurts so bad. That's suffering. So you see, suffering is something you can just go, ow, ow, cry, 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 and be over it. That's non-suffering. Do you see the distinction? Yeah, it's a choice, like happiness is a choice. Pleasure is something that is the opposite of pain, that you're either in or you aren't in any given moment. You know what I mean? This chair, it's a little hard, you get a little pain, it's not quite pleasure. Happiness, though, is a perspective on whatever's going on. So there's this story of an African tribe who had to carry water, to get there was drought, and they had to walk 50 miles to get their water and back, and it was a study on happiness, and they asked them, this looks difficult. Are you happy? And they go, what? Like that word doesn't exist. That doesn't, because there's no question. They're dancing, they're singing all the way to the water hole. They're having a good time. There's no pain there. It's all pleasure. But happiness is a concept. Happiness is something we decide whether we are or aren't given our current situation. So you can choose to be happy, ideally. I'm not saying this is all easy. You gotta clear things and do some work, and that's what my whole shamanic work is about, to help get us there. I'm not speaking of the ideal, but it's a choice in here. Because two people can be doing the same exact thing. One could be miserable, unhappy, the other could be happy because they chose. I don't know if that answers your question.
Oh, my head is going in so many places.
Yeah, I know,
I love
it's
what
hard.
you're saying. I dig it. I mean, I think that you could even possibly be happier if you truly felt the pain.
Exactly, you can be happy in
And
pain.
then you have less suffering.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the point. If you just sort of accept it and you don't make a thing like, this shouldn't be happening to me, why is this happening to me, why did someone put the stove there that my hand happened to touch, then you can make yourself really unhappy. But if you just go, whoops, ouch, you'll be happy.
I think it was like if I'm fully involved in the experience, even if the experience contains some pain, you're just in it.
Yeah.
And then it's over. But it's, again, if you replay it in the mind.
If you're complaining about it, if you're doing that.
If you're resisting it.
If you're resisting it.
it.
And that's a good point.
Yeah.
Because resistance is pain, as well.
So when you get through it, even if you're stretching to the point where you don't think you can stretch anymore, something happens, and then it works, and then it feels almost blissful, because you've
contrast.
You've gotten through something.
I believe that the magnitude of pleasure is related to the contrast of the magnitude of pain, just like the ability to see each other has to do with the light versus dark. We couldn't make each other out if there was no contrast, if there was no difference, And so, same thing when you're eating an ice cream cone and it tastes really good the first bit, and then after a while you don't even taste it anymore because you need some salt, and then come back to the sweet because you need the contrast. That's how all of nature works. It's all contrast.
But there's still not a big allowance for that, it seems like, in society. Like, I've been working with prospects, and it's like, no, you're supposed to be sad, you're supposed to grieve, this is the time, you're not supposed to be like, oh, I'm sorry. I mean, but we don't have the time where we can wear black, we don't have these rituals around that.
I know.
that grief, and that would alleviate, I think, a lot of suffering and antidepressants.
Totally. No, you're right. That's true. I mean, that's why that's the point. That's what we're getting back to. That is the return of the feminine. That's the return of ritual and ceremony versus, no, do it this way, do it that way, don't do this, don't do that, there's no time, think about it. Yeah, it's different. So, yeah.
And connectedness. It's like we're all supposed to be doing this all on our own. We're all supposed to know, we're supposed to be okay.
How are you supposed to be taking care of ourselves?
Showing it
Yeah, right.
by ourselves.
Right, right.
It's one thing to welcome back, I think, it's one thing to welcome back the feminine in ourselves in our own life experience. It's another thing, a place that I hope that we go, but I think place has been, since we've already created such a masculine, regimented world, there's structures that have to change, that some space has to be carved.
Yes,
To allow us to be able to do this.
You're right, and it just starts tonight. And it's there's a lot of momentum. It takes time, to undo things that have been done, and that's okay. We have eternity. I mean, our souls will be back. We go non-physical. We come back to the theater, and next time maybe it's closer to what we were hoping for, and we're in a little better situation, whatever. This movie's better than the last one. But the shamans look at things from that perspective, 10,000 years, not just your next 40 or whatever. It's really a bigger, and it's like, Marianne Williamson was talking, and I was listening to her, and she made the point of, I think it was Susan B. Anthony, right, who worked her whole life tirelessly for women's right to vote, died before that was given. But her soul sings every time a woman votes. Her soul tingles, I think she said. And it's like, yeah, that's very shamanic. It may take a few more lifetimes of talking like this and doing each of our work, and each of us coming internally in terms of the feminine above the masculine and undoing the structures, just like we're talking about tonight. Let go of this idea of perfection. That's a good start. Don't beat yourself up with your own principles and your own masculine beliefs, Give yourself more room. Allow mistakes to happen. Allow them not to have to be growing or even learning experiences. They just happen. And it's okay. And it will happen again. You're okay if it does. You're not a bad person. You're all right. So that's, and we'll get there. Because we are connected, and it is a collective thing. And as enough people get there, it encourages everyone else without even saying it. It's extra psychic. It's the mythical.
That connected word is what I was going to say, because it's in all of us, and it seems like it isn't either masculine or feminine. It seems like what we're coming to now is a balance, but that's what it is, and that as each one of us become more of that, then naturally that's what's going to reflect in what we create around us. And that movement, that connectedness, because you were talking about how things in the world aren't perfect, and yet the imperfection is perfect on a higher level. It's like all these layers of perfect and perfect.
Yeah.
If you get
See, I'm just throwing out the word perfect all the time.
Right.
Emery and I had this
It's all
discussion.
connected, and it's all moving where
It's
it
the
needs
beauty.
to move for us to expand and grow and be who we really are.
And that's the deal. Life is expansion. It's not growth, but it does, by nature, expands. Nature expands, jungles expand,
And
species
changes.
expand, diversity expands and changes and moves. You're right, it flows.
Spiral.
Right. And so that's why I wanted to say the beauty in imperfection, not the perfection in imperfection, because that still implies that perfection is important.
Yeah.
And it's not. I want to throw it out entirely and just be in beauty. In beauty in the mess. Find the beauty in the mess. That's
I want
it.
that in my kitchen.
Okay, there you go. Well, let's do it. So now, I want to do the journey because we've been doing it mentally, and mentally is all good and fine, but it's only one layer of our being, and it's not the most powerful or important layer. We've got the mythic and we've got the energetic, the soul level, the subconscious, and then the mind that we've been chit-chatting with, right? So Let's do a journey to access these and bring all this in. I'm going to guide you on a journey. You ready? Okay. So, can everybody hear me back there? Okay? Doing all right? Okay. All right. So close your eyes, make yourself comfortable, a few deep breaths in, let them out. And I think you remember where your heart is. So allow yourself to move down from your head, from behind your eyes, where you're normally looking into the world. And move down your throat. Move down into your heart. And you can see the blood rushing by and the valves working. You're in your heart. And in the center of your physical heart, there's a light. A beautiful sphere of golden, white, blue, shimmering light. And that's the center of your soul, of your eternal self. And I want you to enter that sphere, leaving behind all that is not your eternal self, leaving behind this body, this story, this history, stepping into infinity, eternity. And in that sphere of eternity in the center of your soul, you can see vague projections, like on a movie screen, on the inside of the sphere, of this lifetime, of all your lifetimes. Because you're now just a sphere of light, all of us together, we can travel to each moment in our lifetime, each moment in all of our lifetimes, where we were being just a little too hard on ourselves because we weren't perfect enough, or we made a mistake. Thought we needed to grow and learn. But now you're that angel visiting that you. In that moment, that you sees a ball of light come, sees an angel come. And you get to tell yourself, you're just fine. You did good. Everything's okay. It's okay. It's natural. It's nature. You're beautiful. In all your imperfection, you're beautiful. It's going to be all right. We all love you. You're loved by all that is. Always. Unconditionally, no matter what you do or don't do, say or don't say. Choose or don't choose, you're all right. You're held by all of nature. All of nature is just like you. All of nature is not perfect and always makes mistakes. As that ball of light just keeps zooming around to each of those moments in this life from the beginning to the end. Now make your way back to your heart. See the blood rushing by and the valves working in this body, in this moment in time and space. Make your way back up through your throat, back up behind your eyes, because you gotta be able to see when you're driving home tonight. And rub your hands together. Feel your face. That perfect, beautiful, not perfect, but beautiful, imperfect face. I made a mistake. And just know that you're the most powerful and free being there is. There's nobody else that can get to you, physical or non-physical. You're it. You own it. This is your garden. This is yours. Okay? Things can only get to you where you're already getting yourself. And you're not going to do that anymore, right? They only join in. You know? So I want you to really know that. Go home feeling powerful, feeling strong, feeling this is your garden and it's imperfect and it's beautiful and it loves you. You're a part of it. You know, you're expanding with it, enjoying it, choosing to be happy as you can. Yeah. Feel good? Sound good? Thanks for coming, and if if anything comes up, you have more questions, I'm around. I live nearby, and I do private sessions. I work on clearing energies from the past and ancestral stuff. And got a book, CDs, and everything that Emery carries here. Some journeys on it, the one we did, and so I'm very happy to engage. Yes.
Tell me about the success seeking research.
So that is a video version of the Destiny Retrieval Journey. It's the same journey as in the CD, except somebody made graphics and things like that. It was originally made to be put in hotel systems for, you know, you get into your room and you can watch Deepak Chopra give a talk, or you can watch me give a talk in a journey, that kind of thing. That hasn't quite come out yet or whatever, but that was why it got made. I get to offer it. So yeah, but it is the destiny retrieval journey, which is a way of, on these levels, bringing in, kind of going into the future, if you will, and bringing in the you that you prefer to be experiencing a year from now, 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now, including seeing who your power animals are, and your stone people, and your plants, and so the journey is like that gathering of all that we are. Thank you.
Very fun. Yeah. It wasn't perfect, but it was beautiful.
I mean, will you make a list of things for me so I can do it perfectly?
Yeah.
Not.
I'm working on that list.
Yeah.